as a formality. And if that were the case, I would say that '08 Florida team was the best. But this Clemson team, to me, is better than Notre Dame was. Gosh, I don't think they're better than that LSU team, but as I told my brother earlier today, that LSU team seemed like they were in a funk for some reason, and maybe Alabama
like they'd practiced.
Maybe Alabama put them in that funk. I don't know, but they did not look like the same team.
They looked horrible.
They looked bad. And then Texas was a good team. It was a solid team.
But they lost their quarterback on the first series of the game.
It was, I think it may have been the third series, but whatever. It was a team that I think this Clemson team would beat them with or without Colt McCoy, to be honest with you. I think Clemson,
I don't know about that.
Clemson and Deshaun Watson and Shaq Lawson.
Look, I am ready to see, and look, we all knew Notre Dame was a smoke and mirrors team. Well, I don't think anybody thought that Notre Dame, they snuck through 4 or 5 games that year, but I'm going to tell you this, Clemson has proven themselves one time after another. This is the test. Can they stay in this game and make it competitive? Can they win the game? Because they're the number 1 team in the country, they're undefeated, but nobody thinks they can win this football game. Nobody does.
And it's so funny because everybody loves to say nobody's respecting us, what have you.
Well, they need to prove it. They have the chance to prove it.
Well, and also, Clemson's been number 1 in the college football playoff rankings this entire time.
But
nobody else has been number 1.
You can be but they're undefeated, and they're the only undefeated team left, and they do play in a Power 5 conference. I think by default people put them up there. But, does anybody really feel like they're the number 1 team in the country? There are other teams out there that's it. They have to win this game to solidify that they really are the number 1 team in the country. There's been plenty of number 1 teams in the country in the past that didn't get the respect because nobody really felt like they deserved to be there, but they got there by default.
Yeah, no, but the only thing I'd say about that is when Clemson was named number 1 for the first time, there were a bunch of undefeated teams.
Sure.
Ohio State was, Michigan State was. There were some other teams in there that were undefeated that didn't make it into the playoff.
Yeah.
So I feel like they have gotten the respect, but I think you're right. This is the next step for Clemson. If Alabama loses this game, I don't think it is not a catastrophic thing. Alabama's going to be right in the mix next year.
Alabama's never lost in a national championship game. Yeah. You ever thought about that?
Well, in modern time.
In this modern time.
Yeah.
Since '92, since you and I really know what's going on in the college football world.
That's right.
Every time they go, they win.
Right.
Auburn's been twice in the time that you and I have been watching it, and they've won one, they've lost one, they lost one in heartbreaking fashion. It's almost like, did Alabama play too good last? You don't want to flip flop if you're an Alabama fan. Last year they didn't play good in the semifinal, they lost. They never had a chance to get to a national championship game to see if they could have won or not. This year, they played almost flawlessly, and they dominated both sides of the football. They had a special teams return for a touchdown. And here's where you got to get back up again and play for a national championship, which I know that theoretically you can't. It's not hard to get up for a game this big, but you just played in a big game, and you got over a hump that you didn't get over last year. Can they do that again?
I think so. Again, I think this Alabama team, top to bottom, is certainly more talented. But Deshaun Watson is a fantastic quarterback, certainly worthy. He was sitting in a chair right next to Derrick Henry at the Heisman ceremony for a reason. I just think Clemson's uber talented. They've got a chip on their shoulder, and they have been finding a way to win. They are a couple of notches above that Notre Dame team, which had sort of the same vibe to it.
If that's the case, then they'll only lose by 20 points. So.
Well, I think this Clemson team would blow out that Notre Dame team.
I think Georgia would have blown that Notre Dame team out that year. There's a lot of teams.
No, that's a good point. Just like I made about the 08 SEC title game, I think the 12 SEC title game, the national championship game was Alabama, Georgia.
Exactly. Yeah. I think whoever won that game would move on. So just a lot of interesting stuff there, but we'll continue.
Which is a testament to our league more than anything, Brett.
It is. Well, the bowl season, you can't put too much stock in how your team's doing a bowl. Last year was 7-5. This year they're 8-2. So not as many teams in the bowls this year for the SEC, but a lot better percentage, 8-2. Only Texas A&M and Florida falling. And we'll talk more about the off season for a lot of these SEC teams and the uncertainty that's going to be going around there. We'll dive into NFL football a little bit later on, but Johnny Manziel I just don't know where this train wrecks.
Two things.
Where does it finally wreck and go off the
Well,
track?
it's funny. Two things today from NFL, big name NFL guys, both involving hair for some reason. And none of the hair is theirs. Johnny Manziel puts on a
Brian
wig
Urlacher.
apparently and goes out in Las Vegas, Groucho
and
Marx style,
and a mustache.
and a mustache, and a blonde wig at that.
Blonde wig.
And Brian Urlacher has a hair transplant, and it's just bizarre.
Did he use the wig that Johnny Manziel?
Yeah, maybe that's
was
what
that
it is.
where that? Let me ask you a question. Was Johnny Manziel in Las Vegas on Friday night before the Sunday they had to play in this last regular season game? From what I'm understanding, he was.
It sure sounds that way. And
Maybe even Saturday before the Sunday game.
this is one of those sagas that I want to both follow and completely ignore, because I feel like if I follow it, I'm contributing to his
but
complete
it's
and
just
utter
too
destruction.
utterly intriguing not to follow how stupid and what a waste he's
Oh,
becoming. I mean, the talent that he is, and he just didn't care. I mean, is he that sick?
It's
I
a
think
cry for
he's-
help.
Well, I think it is. He's that sick. He can't control it, Luke. I mean, because you've already dodged 3 or 4 bullets, and now you put yourself back out there again. And I'm telling you, man, I just don't understand why else you would do what he continues to do other than to be something sick and out of your control.
And I think short term, if you're Johnny Manziel, you got the little devil on your shoulder and the angel on your
Yes.
shoulder. The devil is saying, hey, what do those two morons know? You've got all the money you can stand. You're out in Vegas. You're partying. You're drinking. You got women throwing themselves at you, beautiful women throwing themselves at you. What do they know? But I think you're close to your 40s. I'm well into my 40s. And we know all that stuff's going to go away. And then what are you going to have?
Well,
I mean,
I didn't need to be close to my 40s to understand, nor do I think there's a lot of guys out there that could do exactly what he's doing, but they're mature and they don't have a sickness. I think Johnny Manziel's sick. I think he mentally is sick. He's been to rehab. He's been shipped off. It didn't work. And he doesn't understand, and he's not going to understand, Luke, until one day he turns around and goes, what an idiot. What did I do? What did I blow?
It's amazing to me, too, how Manziel is a metaphor for A&M and vice versa, because A&M seems completely unstable since he's been gone, too.
They are.
It seems they built their foundation on this guy that nobody can
sandstone.
count on. And now you don't know what's going to happen. Their AD steps down today. You've got both of your 5-star quarterbacks transferring out. One to Houston, one to Oklahoma. A&M
Why would
is a
you come to Texas A&M
crapshoot
right
now.
Why would you go to that school? Look, I don't even think Auburn's in the same galaxy right now. I mean, we didn't finish this year we didn't play like we wanted to play this year, but Auburn was in every game except the LSU game. Auburn was even in the Alabama game. I mean, Auburn just kind of was outmanned in that ball game, for lack of better terms. It didn't have any quarterback play, and to be 19-13 later in that game, to me, I thought was a victory in itself. But outside of the debacle at LSU, Auburn was a one-score game with everybody, and they played with everybody. And 7-6, they ended on a high note. Texas A&M, that looks like a program that's the Hindenburg right now. I mean, that looks like it's going down fast, quick, in a hurry, and nobody can do anything about it. The ship's gone. They can't ride it. You've lost both rudders. There's no way to turn it around.
It's a scary situation if you're an A&M fan, because I don't know, 3 months ago, you felt like you were the up-and-coming program.
Well, you got all
in
these
the SEC
renovations in your field, and you got all these great talented players coming in and all this stuff going on. Just shows you how quick it can go down the tubes. And you know what? Maybe Kevin Sumlin should have gone to the NFL 2 years ago, because right now I don't think anybody would take him. I mean, he's trying to shop himself around to get to, but I mean, are you wanting Kevin Sumlin right now if you're an NFL program? If you're a GM?
I wouldn't, but you know what? The NFL is a crazy league, and
I don't know
a couple
why
of things
take a
I'd be willing
chance
to
on
bet
him.
Johnny Manziel gets another shot in the league.
Of course he's going to
It's
get
just the way
another
it
shot.
goes.
I just, to me, I'll tell you who's going to take a shot on him. Dallas Cowboys. That's where he's going to end up.
That'd be amazing.
That's exactly where a lot of people feel like he'll end up. But just getting started here on Sportz Blitz. Glad you've tuned us in. Going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue these discussions. A lot going on tonight in the world of sports. Stay tuned. More Sportz Blitz Live presented by JR's and SNS Discount Tire right after this.
The opening segment of Sportz Blitz is brought to you by Home Place Mortgage of Auburn and Lake Martin, the region's best mortgage professionals and rates for all new or refinancing mortgage services. Come to the right place. Home Place Mortgage of Auburn and Lake Martin. Visit homeplacemtg.com. Advanced Heating and Air is East Central Alabama's certified train comfort specialist. That means the pros at Advanced make you the focus with superior service on all brands, 24-hour availability, and in most cases, same-day response. Advanced Heating and Air is exclusive with Train Heating and Air products that deliver the longest reliability and great energy efficiency with an amazing 0% 60-month financing package on all new Train products. The best service contacts in the region, and all pricing is upfront so you have no surprises. Advanced Heating and Air, where your comfort is our #1 concern.
DHK Tire and Lube in Dadeville has everything your car needs to keep you rolling. Tires, oil changes, brakes, and most mechanic work. DHK Tire and Lube can have you in and out in no time without busting your budget. Conveniently located at 321 East South Street in Dadeville, DHK Tire and Lube is a locally owned and operated company that keeps you and your car's best interest at heart. Stop by today or call 256-307-7276. That's DHK Tire and Lube in Dadeville.
No matter where your day takes you, a water heater from Blossman means a reliable hot shower when you need it.
Here's the deal. Standard tank propane water heaters for only $99. Free installation.
If your New Year's resolution is to stop walking and start riding, then resolve yourself to run to Lake Martin Truck and Auto on Old Dadeville Road. Lake Martin Truck and Auto is the bank, and you don't need to worry about past credit, getting your tax money, or finding the ride that suits you, because Lake Martin Truck and Auto has the lowest down payments and monthly payments in the area with the best selection. Don't let the Slick City dealer take all that tax money or hassle you with credit. Walk in, ride out, all at the walking man's friend, Lake Martin Truck and Auto, Old Dadeville Road in Alex City.
What better way to start the new year than by saving a ton of money on a new set of tires at S&S Discount Tire Pros? S&S Discount Tire Pros offers great tire brands like Bridgestone and Firestone. All tires and service are backed by their nationwide warranty, including free roadside assistance with every purchase. Bring in the new year at S&S Discount Tire Pros, located in Alexander City and Dadeville, or visit online at snsdiscounttirepros.com. With savings like that, you'll be ahead all year.
Ready to put some fun in your life? Whether it's Central or East Alabama, North Alabama, West Georgia, or wherever you're from, Fun Carts of Opelika is your authorized easy-go cart dealer that has no limits on a perfect easy-go cart. Whether it's a fully customized cart or a stock-made cart, we'll deliver it on time and at the best price. Fun Carts gives you the service after the sale, so no matter if it's hunting, tailgating, motorhoming, fleet rental, or just a better way to get around, Fun Carts of Opelika has it and will customize it to your needs. Visit us in Opelika or call us or visit online for the best easy-go carts. Put a little fun in your life with Fun Carts of Opelika.
This segment of Sportz Blitz is brought to you by Bice Motors in Alexander City. Brian and his crew offer the latest lines of Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram vehicles, as well as the best used inventory around. Guaranteed lowest price. Bice.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sportz Blitz Live, presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and S&S Discount Tire. Brett Pritchard and Luke Robinson here with you till 9 o'clock. Love to hear from you. 1-800-782-0108, 254-6464 to be part of the program. Quick update on the Auburn-South Carolina game, 54-42. South Carolina leads Auburn over in Auburn tonight. And, again, that's an undefeated South Carolina team that's ranked 22 in the country. Boy, you want to talk about a turnaround over there in that program. That was a dumpster program for the past, 5, 7, 8 years, and now it looks like South Carolina's got some good talent over there and starting to turn things around a little bit.
Yeah, Frank Martin is a very good coach. He comes over from Kansas State. If I remember, he coached Michael Beasley. I think he recruited and coached Michael Beasley. So he can recruit. His teams play hard. He's great buddies with Anthony Grant, who, of course, was coach of Alabama for quite some time. And when they went, my favorite for sure, when they went head-to-head, you want to talk about a total snooze fest. Whatever the basketball equivalent of Ambien is, that was it. It was hard to watch those games.
Ambient on your mind tonight.
Wow, it is. It needs to be.
Like Georgia on the mind for somebody, some other people. But anyway, a lot that has transpired in the brief all season. Kevin Steele today had his official press conference at Auburn as the defensive coordinator, and comes over from LSU after 1 year. Has got a long history of being in the SEC. Was at Clemson for a stint, and has just been in a lot of places, Luke. And Auburn there went weeks without a defensive coordinator hire after Will Muschamp left, and didn't really know where that was going to end up. But I don't think it ended up too bad as you look at how the search was going in the list of people that apparently seemed like they weren't interested and kept turning Gus Malzahn down. You got a Kevin Steele candidate that's not a bad hire, and Auburn with the talent that they had with Lance Thompson in that last ball game, Luke, really showed up and played the best defense I think Auburn's played in several years, and I know he goes to South Carolina, but hopefully if you're an Auburn fan out there, you can build off that and carry some positive momentum into the offseason.
Yeah, again, I don't think the Kevin Steele hire is a bad hire. He knows the region, and as we say all the time, and insert your own joke here, but the SEC can be rather incestuous when it comes to coaches. They're just
like the NFL.
Yeah, they don't want to let go. They want guys who have been in this area, it seems like, and I think that's one reason South Carolina ended up playing it very, very safe with a guy like Will Muschamp, even though his record isn't great. But I think if you're an Auburn fan, and Brett, certainly feel free to correct me, if I get Kevin Steele from LSU, and then I see that LSU gets a Randa from Wisconsin, and they're not paying, I think they're paying him $1 million. I mean, I'm not sure. And what is Auburn paying Steele? Do you know?
I don't know the official total.
Well, Auburn was paying Will Muschamp, what, 1.2? Okay.
Yep.
I would have no problem if I were Auburn saying.
I think it's $1 million. I think Kevin Steele's getting $1 million.
Okay, I would say, LSU got the better of the deal. I don't think on paper.
Well, Randa's definitely the hottest name in defense out there right now, and what he's able to do at Wisconsin. And you were able to see today, Barry Alvarez came out and talked about that. And does that say a little bit about the SEC versus the Big Ten, though, Luke? That you've got a guy that's an up-and-comer like Aranda that's known all over the place, and the first team that really comes calling on him, he leaves out of the Big Ten. Look,
he was only making about, what, 400,
but
500,000, so when or maybe even 300,000. There were some really low numbers put out there, so yeah, I think.
But from a conference as a whole, I don't know. I mean, I know Ohio State. If you take Ohio State right now, the Big Ten, what do they have?
The only thing they can hope for is that things continue to go the way they're going with Harbaugh. And look, discount Alabama's shellacking of Michigan State, I would still feel pretty good about Michigan State as a whole.
Every time they get on a big stage, Luke, Michigan State, it seems, and I know they won a Rose Bowl, and they
did help Auburn out a few years ago.
No, in the Big Ten championship game in Ohio State, it just seems like it's when Ohio State lays an egg, it's when somebody else has an opportunity to, I guess, reap the benefits of that. Because Michigan State, they won the Big Ten that year, but so what? They didn't go anywhere else. And outside of Ohio State, who they had play for anything? I mean, Michigan State made it in this year, but did anybody really feel good about that Michigan State team getting in the playoffs? I mean, if you look at the scores of their schedule, we talk about it all the time. You know, you play real good one game, you play real bad one game, and everything else is really your true self. Well, is a 3-point win over Purdue your true self? Was another 3-point win over an Indiana team your true self? I mean, is that what they were really? I think we found out that's what they really were in that semifinal game.
And the catch is that who else are you going to put there? You can't put Stanford in over Michigan State. And it's easy. I mean, we got to discount what we saw in the bowl games because you have to make the decision before that. It's like Allie Davison is going to be on soon, and we're going to talk to her a lot about Auburn stuff, but we're going to talk to her about a tweet she put out there. She basically said, and this is going to relate to what we're talking about. She said, hey, Derrick Henry's phenomenal, and so is Christian McCaffrey, but Derrick Henry only won because he plays for Alabama, essentially. And to me, that's a total slap in the face to Derrick Henry, because I'm going to tell you, I've got an argument about that, and we'll go into it. But my point is that but Christian McCaffrey had a chance, if there's an East Coast bias, Christian McCaffrey had a chance to play at noon, first game of the season. They played Northwestern. Stanford didn't score a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey didn't have 100 yards rushing. He didn't have 100 yards rushing and receiving total. No. And so he had his shot, and then you miss it. And so Stanford had their shot against Northwestern, and they didn't win. And then they had another shot against an Oregon team that's just okay. And they didn't make it happen. And so you got to give it to Michigan State, who won their conference and who only had one loss. I thought that was a no-brainer.
I'm going to say this about Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey. I think that Derrick Henry definitely benefited from the success of Alabama. Obviously, he was a big part of why they were successful. Okay? You take him off that team, obviously – Jake Coker showed in the bowl game you can shut Derrick Henry down, and he's good enough to win ball games, which I thought that was big for him individually, personally, that he can get it done when he has to get it done. But you look at Derrick Henry, he really wasn't in the Heisman talk until after the LSU game. After the head-to-head matchup, Leonard Fournette was the favorite all year long until that game. He didn't break 40 yards rushing. Derrick Henry had a monster game, and that's when he propelled himself to the forefront of the Heisman race. And then, look, it didn't take anything away from Christian McCaffrey's efforts, but, I will say this on the flip side, and you're right. It's an inherent disadvantage for the Western teams when you play me and you, at our age, we're not watching those games. They don't kick off till 10 o'clock. And so that is, and, I've heard everybody talk about that, and that is, it is what it is, though. You just have to live with it. Sometimes the cards are dealt that way. Didn't take anything away. Think he was a deserving player. I'm not too sure that, and look, I'm saying this from an Auburn side, and I'd hope you'd say this if it were an Auburn player up against another player from somewhere else, that, I just felt like Derrick Henry deserved it. I mean, Bo Jackson came out and said it. A lot of Heisman guys came out and said it. I mean, he's a good kid. I mean, I'm big enough over here as an Auburn guy to say he's a pretty classy guy.
Well, here's the other thing, Brett, and that's my point. Is I don't mind Allie saying there's an East Coast bias. I get it.
I think there is.
There probably is. And I would take it a step further and say if Derrick Henry, or if Leonard Fournette, for instance, had the same stats as Henry, and LSU were in the national title hunt like Alabama is, just up until the voting or however you want to look at it.
Derrick Henry probably would have won the title.
Or take Nick Chubb. If Nick Chubb hadn't gotten hurt and had the same stats, and they only had one loss, and in the biggest stage against Henry and against some of the other big names, he played his best games. I think Nick Chubb would have won the Heisman. I don't think it was an Alabama thing necessarily, and that's what I think Alabama fans are taking exception to. Hey, we've only had two winners, man.
Look, I'm all for Derrick Henry winning the Heisman way more than I was Mark Ingram. And I mean, that's just me. I mean, and it's not really Mark Ingram's fault, but Mark Ingram had 40-something yards rushing against Auburn that year, and he didn't finish the season very, very strong. And it was just the fact that year, really, who else were you going to give it to?
We talked about that earlier.
And that happens sometimes.
All years aren't created equal. You go back to 1988, and I've said all along, hey, maybe Derek Thomas should have won it in 88. He had 27 sacks. Well, guess what? He was up against Barry Sanders that year.
Yeah.
He was up against Indiana's all-time, who at the time was like the all-time touchdown leader in the nation, and Anthony Davis. Tony Mandrich was in that year. He finished 4 spots higher than Derek Thomas, which I thought was a joke too. But I mean, there were a bunch of guys that were in that particular year. Yeah. And if Derek Thomas had been in this day and age, I think he'd win it in a runaway.
Yeah, because Woodson won it as a defensive player.
But and go back to Ingram for a second. You know what?
And it happened to be another Stanford guy.
See, and that's weird. But here's the thing about Ingram. He didn't have a great game against Auburn. But I think voters probably didn't look at that game. While we look at it as the Iron Bowl and this big deal, I don't think voters looked at that as the big game. What they did was look the next week in the SEC title game. He has either 2 or 3 touchdowns. He catches that big screen pass to really break the game
Trent
open.
Richardson better running back in college to me than Mark.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about
it.
it.
He was up against RG3 and then he lost.
And then look at last year. And if there's such an East Coast bias, tell me why Amari Cooper, who set just about every SEC record you can set, and certainly every Alabama record, why did he only finish 3rd behind a Wisconsin running back and a guy, by the way, from Oregon who won it last year?
Yep, who defeated that West Coast bias. But anyway, a lot of interesting points. We come back, we'll continue these discussions. Stay tuned. More Sportz Blitz Live presented by JR's and SNS Tire right after this.
A new transmission? What's that going to cost me?
About $3,500.
$3,500?
Yes, ma'am.
A new transmission? What's that going to cost me?
Nothing. It's a Hyundai and you're fully covered.
That's America's best warranty. Our neighbors build great Hyundais just down the road. With most brands, you're covered for 5 years or 60,000 miles. After that, major repairs are on you. Every Hyundai of Auburn vehicle's warranty for 10 years or 100,000 miles. Repairs are on us. Compare Hyundai of Auburn.
In a world that's ever-changing, you have to be sure that your choices are the right choices. At Central Alabama Community College, you'll know you made the best choice. Whether choosing a technical degree program, taking courses to transfer to a 4-year college or university, or being a part of our national championship winning traditions, get a sharper focus on your life by choosing one of our 3 convenient locations: Alex City, Childersburg, and Talladega. Central Alabama Community College. Central to you. Central to your success.
It's here, the model year end closeout with the lowest prices of the year at Lynch Nissan of Auburn. The 2016 Nissans are here, and the 2015s have got to go. Hurry in now for the biggest discounts of the year on Altima, Maxima, Rogue, Titan, Frontier, and more. Available with zero down and easy financing, like 0% for up to 6 years and no payments for 90 days. The model year end closeout is on now, and all 2015s must go at Lynch Nissan in Auburn. I-85 at exit 51. Online at lynchnissan.com.
Wow, your carpets look fantastic.
Yeah, thanks to Peaches and Clean.
They look new again.
They also clean my kitchen tile.
Simply amazing. I'm calling Peaches and Clean today.
Just call 502-5326. Oh yeah, they have an area rug cleaning facility too.
Peaches and Clean is now expanded to the Alexander City Lake Martin Market. Give them a call at 334-502-5326.
Call us up at Peaches and Clean.
What's the #1 pontoon in the world for look and performance? It's Manitou, with V-Tune technology that delivers more speed and dominates handling, all with the comfort, style, and luxury that tops the pontoon industry. Lakeside Marina on Lake Martin is the #1 Manitou pontoon dealer in the state of Alabama, with superior pricing and service after the sale. Get invoice pricing on remaining 14s and see the 15 models in stock. And Lakeside is your Kawasaki personal watercraft dealer with a huge selection. Make sure to see our new used Supercenter up the road and find out why Lakeside Marina is #1 for a reason. For over 30 years, Tallapoosa Ford has been your family-owned auto dealer for hot trucks and SUVs. Now they're raising the bar even higher. The Ford F-150 has been the best-selling truck in America for the last 38 years. And the hot new 15s are hitting the scene, and Tallapoosa Ford and Ford trucks are #1 for a reason. America's best truck, combined with our award-winning service department for the region's best warranty work and great maintenance and service.
Hello, this is Jeff with Tallapoosa Ford. Ford trucks have led America's truck sales. Come by today and get your best deal on America's best truck. We don't want all the business, just the opportunity to earn yours.
This segment of Sportz Blitz is brought to you by Dark Insurance, offering insurance for all your personal needs, including auto, boat, homeowners, and disability. Don't be in the dark. Call Dark Insurance at 256-234-5026.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Blitz Live, presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and SNS Discount Tire. Brett Pritchard and Luke Robinson here with you till 9 o'clock. Jimmy Stein up with you next. He'll be calling in, talk about the Alabama National Championship game. But in the sports world, kind of related but off the subject a little bit, Walt Disney Company owns ESPN and ABC. And, with all the TV rights and all the money that's in collegiate and in sports and professional sports, the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, Bob Iger, they released their end-of-the-year financial report to the SEC this past yesterday, actually. And Bob Iger's salary, the CEO of Disney, comes to be $44.9 million. Now, this is a company that made $10 billion last year. And so his salary, I guess in proportion to the earnings, $44.9 million, that's $5,100 per hour. That's just under what you and I make here at Sports Blitz, Luke.
A few decimal points away.
That's exactly right.
But it's funny. Isn't that about the salary of the NFL commissioner, Roger Goodell?
It is. So you're the largest entertainment company in the world. You expect your CEO, the COO, Tom Staggs, made a putrid $20 million this past year. So I know he's struggling tonight.
Should we start a GoFundMe account?
Yeah, GoFundMe account for Tom Staggs. But anyway, the reason we bring that up about Disney, ESPN is part of the Walt Disney Company, and so much the playoffs and everything how is ESPN losing money? Now, obviously, Disney not losing money in very many places at all. They bought Star Wars a few years ago for $4 billion. They made 10 in 1 year. So, you look at $4 billion for an entire Star Wars franchise, not a lot of money. In the scheme of things, plus the release of a new Star Wars now it's not going to be a Star Wars movie every year. Every 2 years it's going to be a Star Wars movie. They're going to be some offset movies on the alternate years all the way to 2020. So they're making money there. It's the highest grossing Star Wars movie ever. But how's ESPN, the world leader in sports, how are they losing money, Luke?
Well, I think first of all, they had really overpaid several folks, I think, and that's why you saw a bunch of massive layoffs, some big names being shown the door at ESPN, and they've probably also saturated the market somewhat. They've got
their ceiling. Yeah.
They've got so many ESPNs, and every game's on.
It's not because there's another network out there taking stuff away from
No,
them.
because Fox Sports is hard to watch. But I don't watch Sports Center anymore. I used to watch Sports Center. I used to go to bed. That used to be my thing.
But the SEC network's part of ESPN, which is part of Disney.
I agree. Look, ESPN will get straightened out.
Of course they will.
But I'm just saying that I think it's just sometimes companies get bloated, and I think they got a little bloated.
I think so, but obviously when you're part of a company that's worth $10 billion a year, you find a way to correct yourself. But anyway, just thought I'd throw that little tidbit out there. $44.9 million when you include pensions.
We said why not work a month and then be like I'm done forever.
$5,100 a minute. A minute is what it comes out to be. That's amazing numbers, man. That's mind-blowing. So, anyway, 1-800-782-0108, 256-234-6464. You'll talk to Jimmy Stein here in a minute about the Alabama National Championship game. You're going out. I know that you've been to all of them since '92, so you didn't want to break the streak. You're fortunate enough to be probably a rare Alabama fan that can say that they will have attended all of those football games.
And the one in '92 is probably the one I remember least for various reasons, but it is the one that I probably hold the most dear to my heart. The 2009 game, that was hard to beat. Being out in the Rose Bowl and just the scenery, it is beautiful out there.
But
the stadium's a dump. But the setting, the venue is absolutely gorgeous.
Wow.
In Miami, it was great, and I liked it, but it didn't feel college football-y, which I guess it shouldn't because it looked like a pro team playing a high school team, to be quite honest with you. And then the other game was in New Orleans.
The worst daggone
against
game. Not because I'm an Auburn
Notre
fan
Dame or Alabama LSU?
Notre Dame.
Right.
You go in there, and the first play of the game, Eddie Lacy runs completely over. Was it Manti? I'm like, just turn it off. I'm like, the first drive, it looked like a Mack truck runaway. a runaway Mack truck going down the field in the first. That was the worst national championship.
Well, and I think that game was.
Why couldn't we have played them?
Well, that
in
game was very
2013?
symbolic of what Alabama is too. And I know we need to go to break, but Alabama just they bludgeon you. I mean, Oregon's one of those quick strike. We're going to cut your jugular, do all that stuff. Alabama's one of those teams that just hits you with a blunt object all game long until you quit. I mean, the beautiful thing about Connor Cook in Michigan State, everybody talked about where he was saying, man, they're everywhere. And he was right, because every time he dropped back, it seemed like there were 4 Alabama guys. And Kirk Herbstreit said it best. He said Alabama's only rushing 4.
They're only rushing 4, and all 4 of them are back there.
And every one of them's back there.
And where is the offensive line? I mean, but anyway, golly, man, I keep reflecting back on the 2013 game. It just
You can't help it.
Makes me sick to think that we lost right there at the end. But anyway, it is what it is. We'll take a break. When we come back, Jimmy Stein up with Luke. Stay tuned. More Sportz Blitz Live, presented by JR's and S&S Tire Ride.
2015 is a new year, and the rules for FHA loans have changed.
If you currently have an FHA loan, call Home Place Mortgage today.
Right now, we can refinance your current FHA mortgage without an appraisal.
Your interest rate will reduce, and so will your monthly mortgage insurance.
Call us today to start saving in 2015.
If you've been seriously injured in a car wreck or truck wreck, don't let the insurance company knock you out without taking responsibility for your medical expenses, pain and suffering, and car repair. You need a fighter. I'm a former Golden Glove champion, and I will fight for you to get the money you deserve. Call Tripp and put a fighter in your corner.
Call the Walton Law Firm at 334-321-3000 or toll free at 866-321-3330. Put a fighter in your corner.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be provided is greater than that of other attorneys. Don't let pests take your house or business over. Wave the red flag. Red Flag Pest, owned and operated by Scott Davis on Highway 280 in Jackson's Gap, is licensed, insured, and bonded, and serves the Lake Martin area, specializing in lake homes, residential property, and industrial property. Call for a free inspection today, 256-825-0430, and visit us online at redflagpestcontrol.com. Red Flag Pest Control, when the problem has to stop, guaranteed.
What value would you gain working with Lee Marketing Group? With 4 divisions under one umbrella, Sign Source, Lee Apparel, R&B Media, and LMG Baker Advertising Agency, Lee Marketing Group offers a comprehensive approach. From logo design and branding to ad placement and everything in between, LMG can handle it all. For ease of time, cutting edge, results-driven marketing campaigns, think LMG. Lee Marketing Group, your comprehensive marketing solution.
It's a great time to buy a new car at McKelvey Chevrolet. Come by and check out the huge selection of new trucks and cars at McKelvey's new location on Highway 280 in Dadeville. We have an awesome new lot filled with new trucks, cars, and SUVs. Are you in the market for a new Silverado truck? The selection is huge, and so are the savings. Buyer rebates and incentives will make buying your new vehicle easier and more affordable than you think. Come on out, see the new friendly staff at the all-new McKelvey Chevrolet on Highway 280 in Dadeville. Your Lake Martin area Chevrolet dealer since 1956.
Hello, I'm Russell Building Supply.
And I'm the big box store.
Box, I don't mean to cut you short, but I've got a delivery to make.
A delivery?
Yeah, Russell delivers anywhere in the local area for free, usually on the same day, and that's on top of our low price guarantee.
Really? Free? Are you kidding me?
No, and if you prefer to pick the order up yourself, we'll load it for free.
And on the same day?
Yeah, we're really good at working on short lead times. How about you?
Yeah, I'm short.
Serving Lake Martin and Central Alabama.
Bama Blitz, brought to you by Bradbury Medical Center, offering durable medical equipment, including wheelchairs, oxygen, hospital beds, and more. 256-215-8654.
Welcome back into Sportz Blitz Live in the Bradbury Medical Center Alabama Blitz. I want to welcome in my good buddy and Talking Tuscaloosa cohort, Jimmy Stein. Jimmy, how are you?
Really good, really good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on. Very short notice, but you know, when Alabama plays for a national championship, I've made a New Year's resolution to always have Jimmy Stein on the program.
Well, the way Nick Saban coaches his program, it's a good thing I'm on your speed dial then.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. So, well, first of all, let's rehash a little bit of the Cotton Bowl game. I guess that's the one shame of having this extra game is really you don't get to revel in how well Alabama played against Michigan State for very long because you got to get ready for Clemson.
Well, this is only the second year of this type of format, so it's new for everyone. And although we're the only team that was in the playoff both seasons, this is our first time winning round one. So this is just a new experience for the coaches and the players, and certainly us fans in terms of experiencing the format. And it is weird to have such a huge victory, and then there's this quick turnaround instead of rehashing one of the best performances in Alabama football history. We just have to get ready for the next game.
It is amazing, and I know that the narrative now is, well, Michigan State shouldn't have been there, and Stanford's better, and all. And my whole argument to that is, Stanford lost to a Northwestern team that got destroyed by Tennessee, right? I mean, it wasn't like Stanford didn't have their shot to get in. Michigan State just ran up on a buzzsaw. Jimmy, you and I say it on the podcast all the time, that a team is going to play its best 2 or 3 times a year, play its worst a couple of times a year, and everything else in between is what you are. Michigan State probably played one of its worst games, and Alabama played one of its better games, and when that happens, it's a bad mixture for whoever the Tide's opponent is. And unfortunately for Michigan State, they've been on the other end of that whooping 2 times in the last 5 years.
That's exactly right. Anybody that just looks at one 60-minute game and says, Michigan State might not have belonged in the game, that's not. They were evaluated on their body of work, and their body of work included wins over Ohio State, an undefeated Iowa team. They beat Oregon, earlier in the year. That was a quality football team. The fact that Alabama was able to dismantle them in 160 minutes is not a reflection on where Michigan State's program is, just more a reflection of how good Alabama can be when offense, defense, special teams, run game, passing game, when it's all working. And when it's all working, Alabama's, not only tough to beat, Alabama's tough to score on.
And I think it was a great game for Alabama in the sense that they got away from it's Derrick Henry or nothing situation that they seemed to be in. Look, Derrick Henry ended up with 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. He didn't have, obviously, his best game. I mean, sometimes he gets 75 yards in a drive. But he looked pretty good when he stiff-armed a 315-pound man to the ground as if he were nothing. And I thought Henry played okay, but the real story was that Jake Coker looked absolutely fantastic. And he's making me eat my words from the preseason where I said, this is not a guy who can take Alabama to win a national championship. I just missed the boat.
Well, I will say it felt at one point in the season like Alabama was playing defense and they were able to do well on special teams and run the football. And what was missing was a passing game that Alabama could rely on to win the game. And I don't think this version of Jake Coker and this version of the Alabama offense has been available to us all season long. But I think it's just sort of the maturation of Jake, the maturation of the offense itself, and everybody having a good night all at once. And something that looked improbable 6 weeks ago, the fact that Alabama could win a huge game on Jake's arm, is now Alabama showed that they're completely capable of doing that, and Jake's completely capable of that. And as far as Jake's performance, we have to remember that even though he's a fifth-year senior, and it seems like he's been talked about forever and was, according to some people, a disappointment based on expectations, the fact of the matter is Jake was sort of like a freshman. I mean, he had not played, in a lot of games, especially under fire with the game on the line and playing 4 quarters. Is all new to Jake. So just like a freshman that's getting his legs under him in September, that kid is a different player at the end of the year, and then that's exactly what's happened in Jake's case now that he's gotten so much experience and been able to play so much.
And he's really had a lot of help from Ardarius Stewart, who's taken his game up a notch where he had been dropping some passes early. He's shown a lot of toughness, catching some balls across the middle and catching some short passes and getting 5-6 tough yards where it seemed like nothing was there. But I think the star of the show, obviously, has been Calvin Ridley. And people may not know this. The funny thing about Ridley, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's actually older than A'Shawn Robinson, but he's still a freshman, right?
Yeah, it's almost like
hard to believe anybody's older than A'Shawn Robinson.
Baseball, yeah, it's like a Major League Baseball players you get from Latin America or some third world countries, and sometimes Major League Baseball's unsure about how old those guys are because they don't keep the records. It's almost like that, like how old is Calvin? But yeah, I believe Calvin is 21, and I don't know the whole story behind it, but ironically, like the analogy I was making, I believe Calvin's parents were immigrants, or he was just way behind in schooling when he started school years ago, and he is older for a freshman, and I think that to some extent explains, in terms of how quickly he was able to adjust. But the fact of the matter is, age doesn't mean everything in college football, Luke. How many times do we see 26-year-olds who've been playing professional baseball for 8 years come back and they struggle? They struggle against 18 to 19-year-old football athletes. So it's not just the age, but I'm sure Calvin being older than the vast majority of freshmen helped him make a quick adjustment, and the adjustment is unbelievable because Calvin's numbers, you can now compare him numbers-wise to Julio Jones and Amari Cooper in terms of his impact as a freshman.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another guy who stepped up and played very well after getting maybe he heard our podcast and he realized we were saying, hey, it's time for you to step up, and that's O.J. Howard. He made about 3 big catches against Michigan State, and I was glad to see him finally get in the action because this is a guy who was probably most known for not making a catch that hit him square in the hands against Florida in the SEC title game, or not catching a ball that was ultimately intercepted at Oxford last year.
Yeah, that's right. That one catch, and I tweeted about it, a little later after the game. But the one catch on the seam route that Jake threw before OJ was open, and before OJ was looking for the ball, and then OJ does look for the ball, and it's already in the air when he's looking for it. He picked it up and caught it with his hands. That play really blew me away from both Jake and OJ's perspective. That was not a throw Jake would have made in September, and that's not a catch O.J. Howard had made in his career. And it all happened on one beautiful play. And while maybe it's been frustrating that they haven't been doing that for 14 games, it does show what kind of awesome potential both Jake Coker and O.J. Howard have, even insofar as playing at the next level, because that was a next-level throw and a next-level catch.
It definitely was. And then Tim Williams, his enthusiasm is contagious, and while the whole defensive line played great, notably Jonathan Allen, but you certainly throw A'Shawn Robinson in there, setting the tone at times. It's Tim Williams, to me, that has really kicked it up a couple of spaces, and I think he is looking phenomenal.
In terms of a one-trick pony, and I'm not saying that he is a one-trick pony because I think his full game is developing and he could become one of the better all-around linebackers in the SEC next season. But if you are judging him solely on his ability to get downfield and rush the passer, Tim Williams may be the best player in the entire SEC at that ever-important trait of getting upfield and rushing the passer. He may be as good as there is in our league, which is saying a heck of a lot because there's just about everybody in the SEC has one really good pass rusher. Tim Williams may be better than all of them.
Well, Jimmy, we made predictions last week. We both were off. I ended up being closer than you. You said, 24 to 14?
I said 24-14.
I said 29-14. I guess I win by default. I'm not really proud of it. But let's get a prediction from you on this Clemson game.
Gosh, on the one hand, I don't want to be so conservative like I was last time, but, to some extent, superstition and karma demands I'll be a little conservative. Look, I think Alabama's going to score in the 30s here. I'm going to say 31. Actually, I feel like Alabama will score more, but I'm going to say conservatively 31. And I do think Clemson's going to score because they are more explosive. But I'm just on such a high watching Alabama play as well as they did. Let's go with 34-10, which is, I believe, the score Alabama beat Clemson in 2008. 34-10.
Wow, that is some confidence, because I'm going to have a prediction. I'll throw it out there a little bit later on. I'm not going to predict anything like that. But let's try and get together and have a podcast tomorrow. What do you say?
Let's do that. And I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate anyone that enjoys our podcast. We certainly have fun putting it together.
All right, buddy. I hope that I get to see you out in Arizona, and you have a great night, okay?
You too. Thanks for having me.
That was
Good night, everybody.
Jimmy Stein from Crimson Country Club and Talking Tuscaloosa, and overall Alabama internet legend. So Jimmy Stein, great friend of the program. We really do appreciate his being on. We'll be back in just a minute with more Sportz Blitz Live.
In a world that's ever-changing, you have to be sure that your choices are the right choices. At Central Alabama Community College, you'll know you made the best choice. Whether choosing a technical degree program, taking courses to transfer to a four-year college or university, or being a part of our national championship winning traditions, get a sharper focus on your life by choosing one of our 3 convenient locations: Alex City, Childersburg, and Talladega. Central Alabama Community College. Central to you. Central to your success.
Big trucks control our highways with little to no regard for the rest of us. The U.S. Department of Transportation estimates that over 500,000 wrecks occur each year involving big trucks. If you or a loved one have been hit and injured by a big truck, then don't wait any longer. Call me today. I'll stand up to these big truck companies, and I will fight for you.
What are you waiting for? Call Kenneth Ingram Jr. now.
JR Sports Bar and Grill. Mondays, all you can eat fingers, $13.25. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, all you can eat wings, $12.25. Every day, kids in uniforms eat for $1.99. Alabama Street in Alexander City and Highway 280 in Sylacauga.
At Bone and Joint Specialists, there is no better feeling than to know that we have helped make someone's life better. Orthopedic surgeons Dr. Paul Goldhagen and Dr. Martha George treat all injuries and conditions related to your bones, joints, and muscles for both adults and pediatric patients while specializing in arthritis and sports medicine. 256-329-9133 or visit us online at bonesandjoints.com. Alexander City, Wetumpka, Sylacauga, and Dadeville. Bone and Joint Specialists, getting you back into the game of life.
What value would you gain working with Lee Marketing Group? With 4 divisions under one umbrella, Sign Source, Lee Apparel, R&B Media, and LMG Baker Advertising Agency, Lee Marketing Group offers a comprehensive approach. From logo design and branding to ad placement and everything in between, LMG can handle it all. For ease of time, cutting-edge, results-driven marketing campaigns, think LMG. Lee Marketing Group, your comprehensive marketing solution.
This segment of Sportz Blitz is brought to you by Satterfield on Highway 280 in Alex City. Satterfield is the Lake Martin area's Big Green Egg and Accessories headquarters.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sportz Blitz Live, presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and SNS Discount Tire. Short segment here is we'll have Allie on with us after the 8 o'clock break. Allie Davidson, She's been on the show before and follows Auburn very closely, and looking forward to hearing from her with the Kevin Steele press conference today, and Auburn basketball in action right now. Looking forward to hearing what she has to say. Also, we'll talk about the comparison or the Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey kind of comparison on Twitter that she made. Regis Ball, the defensive back for Memphis, that stole the Auburn ball and ran off the field and threw up a bird and all this kind of stuff, formally apologized to Auburn today and by Facebook and sent the ball back. He said, "I'd like to formally apologize for my altercation with a member of your football program following your Auburn football's win at Birmingham. In addition, I would like to also apologize for keeping a game ball that was not awarded to me. I have made sure that the ball is returned to the Auburn football program." Hold on just a minute. Why do we want that ball back after he signed it and put it on Instagram? First of all, we appreciate you giving it back.
I would get that thing authenticated because I'd be willing to bet it's like a Nerf ball. He probably sent one of those green and black Nerf balls to you.
I mean, it says my actions following the game were,
reprehensible? He didn't say reprehensible,
It
did he?
says, I'm trying to fast forward because this thing is long. I didn't realize it was this long. It said, these actions are in no way reflection on the University of Memphis Athletic Department football program or character.
No, they're not, because that's the most Memphis ran all day.
And he still got tackled by the ball boy. I'm deeply disappointed that this incident overshadowed the Birmingham Bowl. I hope my apologies heartfelt. Thought this has been one of the most embarrassing moments in my life. But I guess there's another one out there that's more. But I will be sure to learn from this and continue to become a better person, better player. I appreciate the Auburn football program sportsmanship, and I apologize for any inconvenience in the error of judgment. Please accept my sincere apology. What else can you? We're taught to forgive. As humans. You do that, but.
But see, that's part of the problem, Brett, and I want to go to James. That's part of the problem is now we have become, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission society. So everybody just goes ahead and does it, and then they said if we just throw out our mea culpa on Facebook, everybody will say it's okay and pat you on the back.
And it really isn't.
No, it's not okay.
You already stained yourself. James, give me my football back.
Yeah, I'm going to give it back to you.
He said, let me tell you what I'm going to give to you. All right, James, what's up, brother?
Hey, I'm kind of, I know you Alabama fans, but y'all better be leery of this game, man. I hope you bring it back to the SEC, but Clemson I think they're going to present a little problem. And for people to holler 34 to 10 and 50 and whatever, because Clemson does a little bit, they got some playmakers and they got a quarterback. And, that's the key to everything. You got at least
James, let me just say something, James, from an Auburn's perspective. I'm going to really do this time. I'm going to believe it when I see it, because Alabama, every time in a national championship game, they seem to dominate or find a way to win. And, I'd like to think Clemson's going to play this game close, but I'm going to have to just wait till the game plays until I decide that they're going to be able to hang in there with them. Until then, I just don't know.
But now, if you go and look at your offense, Luke, I go back over the season and look at your offense. Your offense hasn't been that great. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they average 35 points a game.
Not that great.
Well, James, let me say this about that. Alabama doesn't have to have a great offense. They don't have to score 60 points a game because they got a defense that is capable of shutting anybody out. That being said, if you listen to my interview with Jimmy, you heard me right at the end. He said 34 to 10. I said, whoa, pump the brakes. Yeah. I'm very leery of this Clemson team. There's no doubt. I said it earlier in the program. I think this is the best opponent Alabama has had in a national championship game of these last four.
Of Texas.
Right. Now, I don't think Clemson defense is that good. But my problem, my thing is just here. You know how some teams look like they just maybe, just like Auburn in 2010, we look like we was destined to win. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And from looking at Clemson, they may just be destined to win. It may not have anything to do with just say Alabama. They may just be destined to win.
Well, James, I want your perspective on one thing real quick before we let you go, because we got to get Allie on. here in just a minute. I mean, Alabama lost in the semifinal last year, didn't have a chance to get to that national championship game. This year they were so focused on getting back. They get back to semifinal. They were all business. They play a near perfect game. Now they got to turn around in a week's time and do it again. And I don't doubt that Alabama can do that at all. But can they play that kind of game again? And again, I know Clemson's got to turn around and do the same thing too. But this is where you're going to see those playoffs. Not only in the past you get to the BCS championship game, you play real good, it's over. Now you got to do it twice.
Y'all do it twice. Well, like I said, if anybody can do it, it'll be you guys. It'll be you guys. But I hope you bring it back to the SEC. But one more thing, Brett, I'm not crazy about the hire about my man.
Kevin Steele.
Could have got better because LSU defense was not that great this year.
They were 23rd in the country, which if Auburn plays 23rd ranked defense, we'll be really, really good, I think.
Right. And for Lance Thompson, I heard he after Gus didn't announce that Steele was going to be the coach. I heard Lance Thompson went in there and had a few words with Gus. But anyway.
Well, I'm not surprised about that. So I'm not too sure. I don't know the history between Kevin Steele and Lance Thompson. They've coached together before. If Lance Thompson's reputation precedes itself, I don't think he's got a lot of good standings with a lot of coaches out there. But anyway, James, we appreciate your call.
All right, appreciate it.
Thanks so much. But I will tip my hat to Lance Thompson. He put a great defense on the field against the number 4 ranked offense in the country in Memphis overall and shut them out in the second half. So, look, say what you want to, Memphis, whatever. When did Auburn shut out? The last time Auburn shut out a top 5 ranked offense in a half. I mean, ran away with 21 points.
And then Auburn did what Auburn does. They said, you got a pretty good defense. You get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want that around here. Anyway, we'll take a break. When we come back, Allie Davidson will join us. Stay tuned. More Sportz Blitz Live presented by JR's and S&S Discount Tire right after this.
Hi, I'm Sydney LaRue, a member of the U.S. Women's National Soccer Team. I'm excited to partner with Nesquik to spread the word about the proper nutrition after a workout or game. Research suggests that low-fat chocolate milk, like Nesquik, contains the ideal mix of carbohydrates to protein that can help refuel and restore exhausted muscles. That's why I refuel my body with Nesquik after tough games and practices. Refuel with Nesquik.
Refuel with Nesquik, a proud supporter of Alabama high school athletics.
What value would you gain working with Lee Marketing Group? With 4 divisions under one umbrella, Sign Source, Lee Apparel, R&B Media, and LMG Baker Advertising Agency, Lee Marketing Group offers a comprehensive approach. From logo design and branding to ad placement and everything in between, LMG can handle it all. For ease of time, cutting-edge, results-driven marketing campaigns, think LMG. Lee Marketing Group, your comprehensive marketing solution.
Ever envisioned watching your favorite team score a touchdown from the comfort of your dream home? I'm Angela Van Houten with Century 21 Lake Area Realty. I want to help you find the home that's perfect for your lifestyle. Whether it's a lake home with a perfect deck or a home in the country with acres of land, you aren't buying just a home, you're buying a lifestyle. Call or text me today, 256-596-0566. Visit my website, avhlakemartin.com. Angela Van Houten, helping families like yours make memories of a lifetime.
At Brown Nursing Home, you'll find quality care and comfortable living. We take great pride in our rehabilitation services, including short-term rehabilitation. We offer speech, occupational, and physical therapy, as well as skilled nursing care. Brown is located on Washington Street in Alexander City. For more information, contact Cecily Lee, the administrator, at 256-329-9061.
Did your team just win the big game? Are you looking for a unique way to honor a valuable employee? Lila's Engraving has you covered, offering a large selection of custom trophies and plaques. Lila's also offers cash aluminum car tags, custom engraved wine glasses, clocks, and wood cutting boards. They even offer custom framing for any art or picture as well. Lila's combines the best quality items with the fastest service around. With over 27 years of experience in the Alexander City and Lake Martin areas, Lila's Engraving is your only choice for custom awards and engraved gifts. Always remember, winners choose Lila's.
Hello, I'm State Farm Agent Karen Chanel. I specialize in helping families and individuals like yourself in the Alexander City and Lake Martin communities. With over 20 years experience with State Farm and a dynamic team of licensed professionals, I am committed to helping you manage the risk of everyday life. And we not only consider it an honor, but a privilege to assist you in meeting your insurance and financial services needs. I sincerely look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Blitz Live, presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill. Brett Pritchard and Luke Robinson here with you till 9 o'clock and taking your calls in the next segment. But at this time, I want to go back to the phone lines and welcome in a guest here, a special guest, Allie Davidson, who follows the Auburn Tigers very closely. Coming to us from Tampa, Florida tonight, though, Allie. So, Allie, thanks so much for taking time out to be on the show with us.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm buckled up and I'm ready to go.
There you go. Buckle it up. Well, Luke, I'll let you kind of kick it off.
Let's get it out of the way because this is what's been sold. Allie, first of all, it's well established you have questionable judgment because you're good friends with Scott Hardy. Let's get that out of the way. But secondly,
you can't help who you're friends with.
That's true. That's true. You may have just inherited Scott. That's what we did.
I think that's what everybody did.
Okay, but you sent a tweet out shortly after the Heisman Trophy, and again, we're not going to spend the whole evening on this, but this is verbatim. Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey are both phenomenal athletes. However, one of them won the Heisman because of who they play for. Now, I can live with that statement if you mean that there's an East Coast bias and that the trophy would have also gone to Leonard Fournette, assuming that he would have had the same stats and his team would have been in the national championship hunt, or Nick Chubb, or if Derrick Henry had played for Auburn or Tennessee. But to say it because of Alabama is, if that's what you meant, then that's where I take issue with it more than anything. I'm just going to let you explain yourself.
Yeah, well, first, the context of the tweet is, as Alabamans like to point out, of course, there's been a lot of second-place finishers and third-place finishers and Heisman for Alabama players. But McCaffrey and Derrick Henry are the same position, so it's a lot easier to compare them. So you can't compare Amari Cooper to Marcus Mariota like last year because they're two separate positions. So you can compare the numbers and the style of play between these two players. So just throw out any past scenarios of Alabama finishing second and not winning it over players. I would compare this a lot more to Mark Ingram and Toby Gerhart from Stanford in 2008, I think it was. It's very similar. And what I meant by the team he plays for, it does have East Coast bias. And, as we saw national guys start to question after the bowl games, they kind of said, should we have casted our votes for the Heisman that early? And when I said, Derrick Henry won because of the team he played for, it absolutely means because he played for an SEC team that has been the most dominant team in the last decade and has played on primetime, has won national championships, a lot more than the West Coast team that plays at midnight and no one's staying up to watch like Stanford.
Okay, now, Allie, while I get what you're saying there, here would be my counter to that. And I think that is actually a point. I think it's undeniable that the East Coast team is going to inherently have an advantage. I get that. And specifically, an SEC team that plays on CBS. Alabama's on CBS more than 48 hours. So, I mean, I get it, okay? But if your complaint is we're not shown on the East Coast enough, well, the first game of the season, McCaffrey played at a Big Ten team at noon when everybody's excited for the first college football day, and McCaffrey didn't have 100 yards receiving and rushing total, and he didn't score a touchdown. His team lost the game. They didn't score a touchdown, period. And conversely, every big game, every one of them, Derrick Henry showed out. He didn't just have a good game. He showed out against Auburn, against Tennessee, against LSU, against Mississippi State. He played phenomenally. He had his best games of the year. And so I think part of that has to factor into it too. And while the Barry Sanders argument is certainly valid, when you break records by Herschel Walker, that's also pretty valid.
Yeah, absolutely. But so is breaking national records from us, across the entire board like McCafferty did all season. And if you want to talk about, the one game that he, didn't perform on, they lost. I mean, Alabama took a loss to Ole Miss too. And, obviously Derrick Henry had his yards, but you're telling me he couldn't get that one extra yard, or the offense couldn't get that one extra yard, to change the game, and the 5 interceptions. So if you want to talk about, player on player, then, each team has a loss that they probably should have stepped up more on.
Well, I would compare Derrick Henry's loss against Tennessee more.
If you would tell me that Derrick Henry is the sole reason why Alabama is playing for the championship, I think everyone in the country would say, absolutely not. Look at that defensive lineman. If you were to tell me that without McCafferty at Stanford, they're 10-2 and demolishing teams like Iowa in a bowl game, obviously that's not true, because everyone talked about how weak Stanford's defense was, and it was because of McCafferty with his all-purpose play and running back touchdowns and passing for yards and being that elite all-purpose player and being the best player in the best country instead of being the best player on the best team. I think that's where the argument is, and I think that's what the Heisman Trophy's transition to, is being the best player on the best team and not necessarily the best player in the entire country.
I would compare Derrick Henry's performance against Ole Miss much more to McCaffrey's performance against Oregon, which was also a home loss, by the way, where Derrick Henry still had a touchdown, still got his yards. He still looked okay. He wasn't the reason Alabama lost. I think it was 5 turnovers, 2 on special teams, and then several interceptions and a baffling decision to start Cooper Bateman over Jake Coker. But I would say that Stanford wouldn't be a whole lot further from 10-2 with or without McCaffrey, because their schedule isn't anywhere in the area code of Alabama's, which was the toughest in the country. So I don't mind your saying McCaffrey is phenomenal and I would have voted for him. That's your opinion. I get that. That's no problem. I don't mind if somebody says they'd vote for Deshaun Watson. His team's undefeated. But
who I would have voted for. I was voting for Deshaun Watson had Iowa. So it wasn't even between McCaffrey and Henry for me. If we're talking about the best player on the best team, Watson led his team to an undefeated season, and he is the sole reason why Clemson is in the playoffs and why they are the team they are. Whereas if you look at Alabama, they're in the playoffs because that defense, how smothering they are. As far as the SEC schedule, everyone said this year how terrible the SEC was and how embarrassing the SEC was, and how the defense were so bad and all of this stuff. So if you're going to compare schedules, I mean, let's not act like the SEC played like the season like they had in the past. So the SEC wasn't exactly, hard-earned wins like they had been, 2 or 3 years ago.
But isn't Alabama's schedule ranked number 1 in the country?
I mean, sure. I mean, if you want to do rankings, but I'm pretty sure beating Auburn isn't exactly, a high point for them, considering Auburn was 6-6. So, I mean, if you're telling me that an Auburn win is, putting them at the number 1 seed in the country, then by all means, go for it. But
no, I'm just saying overall, Alabama also played a Big Ten team in Wisconsin, which is, I mean, at least comparable to Northwestern. I mean, in the same area code. And Derrick Henry ran all over them, and McCaffrey couldn't score against Northwestern. But as I said at the beginning of this, I really want to hear more about Auburn going into this.
No, you really don't.
I kind of do, because I don't mind her having the opinion McCaffrey. So in essentially,
we could go on for an hour, and you guys aren't going to agree on this.
Because
so, I mean,
sometimes, Brett, as we say, there's only one trophy. You're not going to split that trophy up 3 ways. But I would also go on to say that it wasn't just the South that Henry carried by a landslide. He carried several regions, and just because McCaffrey tore up an Iowa team that looked like they didn't want to be there, I tell you, Alabama would have
loved. I just think the Big Ten was weak.
Alabama would have loved to have played that Iowa team, and then how many yards would Derrick Henry have gotten in? Or if Derrick Henry had been left in against the Middle Tennessees and the La Monroes, he would have had 2,400 yards instead of, you know what I mean?
I mean, we could play woulda, coulda, shoulda for a lot of teams that Derrick Henry played, but he didn't. And here's McCaffrey playing these players and, having the most all-purpose yards and breaking all these records for most all-purpose yards out of anybody in the entire country, not just Herschel Walker yards.
But he's doing it against Washington State, which I would say.
Let me add one thing, and then we can move on. And Allie, coming from an Auburn perspective here with me, Derrick Henry wasn't really on the Heisman radar until that face-to-face matchup with Leonard Fournette and the offensive line. And look, I know it has a lot to do. Look, Leonard Fournette not having 50 yards against Alabama doesn't make him all of a sudden make him a bad back. He has to have help. His offensive line has to block, just like Derrick Henry's has to block, and things have to come together. LSU, a one-dimensional team. Alabama knew that they didn't have to respect the pass, so they'd stack the line. And I had a feeling that Leonard Fournette might get shut down in that game. He did. But that's when Derrick Henry did take hold of the Heisman race, I think.
Absolutely.
And then kind of moved on with it. And look, we can argue back and forth, but Christian McCaffrey is at a disadvantage being on the West Coast playing at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock when we're all going to bed. And a lot of the voters are Eastern Coast driven. And so I know Marcus Mariota won it the year before. And look, I think either one of them could have won the trophy. And like Luke said, you only have one trophy. It is what it is. But, Derrick Henry, I think, and I told Luke this, and you compared it, he deserved it a lot more, in my opinion, than Mark Ingram did back in 2008.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would agree with that. I think the Stanford guys got, pretty screwed in 2008, which is fine. And like you said, it's okay. This is my whole point is I don't know why the Alabama fan base got so offended by it, by me saying you are the most dominant team in the last decade. You have the best coach and probably of all of college football ever, especially if he wins this title against Clemson this weekend. So it's okay that you have that bias. That doesn't diminish anything against Derrick Henry. It is just saying that people respect you and people respect your team and respect the people you recruit. And that's fine. That is totally fine, but it doesn't mean that there isn't some kind of bias for a lot of these voters, and a lot of these voters are in the SEC and are on the East Coast a lot more than they are out West.
And I have no problem with that, and I think that that's a valid point, certainly, and I think that there is a real East Coast bias, and my argument to that would be, hey, Pac-12, if you know that exists and you believe that exists, quit making Stanford play at 10:30 at night. Try and kick it off at 4 o'clock. Make it so that people can watch it.
Maybe they do
That's
that.
really on them. They're not marketing their own players.
Yeah, maybe they do that. We'll move on real quick, Allie. I want to ask you about Kevin Steele real quick, his press conference today. Your thoughts on him being the next defensive coordinator at Auburn and what he brings to the table.
Yeah, it's another Auburn Todd guy. His brother is the assistant athletic director, so it's a pretty easy decision for him. Obviously, LSU countered with a phenomenal hire in Arianda, the Wisconsin defense coordinator. But I think Kevin Steele, from what we got from his press conference today, was he's satisfied with being a defensive coordinator. He's had his tries at Baylor and it wasn't really successful at head coach. So I think he's okay with being a defensive coordinator. I think he's fine with doing that for the rest of his career. And I think that's something that Auburn really took in consideration, especially after, what Muschamp did. And you can't blame Muschamp for leaving for a head coaching job, but you can't keep having these coaches leave year after year and implementing new systems and recruiting different guys, but trying to fit the other guys on the team. It isn't fair to the kids, and that's not how you build a successful program. So I think Kevin Steele is in here for the long run, as long as Gus Malzahn, can figure out the offense and, not find himself on the hot seat, come 2017. So I think that's definitely the biggest highlight for him. And, he's been around the league. He's coached a lot of guys into the NFL. Being an SEC guy coming from LSU, you can say what you want about the defense over there, but he still recruited some big-name guys and, is getting some big-name guys into the league. And a lot of these recruits really take notice of that because a lot of their goals is to get, to the NFL. So he carries a lot of pedigree, and it'll be interesting to see who he brings, to fill out the rest of the staff, with Lance Thompson leaving and still needing to fill that T-Rob spot in the secondary. But I think it's the stability that he brings is what I feel Auburn was really looking for, and that's what Kevin Steele is for them.
Allie, really quickly, can you throw out a prediction of who you think Auburn's next commitment will be?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. I don't see Auburn really getting a commitment until signing day from what we see, unless we see a JUCO kind of surprise you. Right now, I still am really high on Derrick Henry.
It's a Derrick Henry kind of night.
Hey, well, you've already established you're not high on Derrick Henry.
He's on my brain. No, Derek Brown, the 4-star defensive tackle from Lanier, Georgia, and then you also have the 5-star wide receiver from Tampa, Florida, Nate Craig Myers. And him and his brother are a package deal, is what we were told all of the Under Armour game. And Nate Craig Myers is still really, really, really high on the offense, so it'll be really interesting to see how they sell the next quarterback position and kind of how they sell this offense to him, heading into the 2016 season.
Hard to believe we had Nate Craig Myers on 2 years ago on Sports Call, and he had committed to Auburn.
That feels like yesterday.
It really feels like yesterday, and then now it's coming down to signing day. So
2 years, and now we're finally back to score one.
Absolutely. That's about where recruiting goes. That's why, when somebody commits as a sophomore, I don't take very much credence in that. Well, Allie, thank you so much. It's been fun as always. Always good to have you on, and look forward to having you on again soon, okay?
Awesome. Thanks so much for bringing me on in the debate, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Tell Lyndon hello for us.
All right, will do.
All right, thanks so much. That's Allie Davidson there. Really follows the Auburn program closely, and a lot of insight. Glad to have her on, and hey, trooper there.
And she's got she is a trooper. And look, I appreciate her coming on. And again, I don't mind differing opinions. I mean, that's just the way it goes. And if you're an Auburn fan,
Derrick Henry appreciates you.
If you're an Auburn fan, I don't expect you to think Derrick Henry should win it. I mean, just like you wouldn't think vice versa traditionally.
I think sometimes, all right,
you got to look beyond the rivalry.
Do you think Cam Newton deserved to win the Heisman Trophy?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, I mean, so we can all agree that we can take our crimson glasses off and our orange and blue glasses off and recognize the best player when we see them. I mean, that would be irrational. And it's just like Cam Newton. I know you don't like Cam Newton, but you can't tell me he's not going to be MVP of the NFL this year. And that he is not tearing up the league. And this may be the start of things to come for many years. So if you're an Alabama fan, just get ready for it. I mean, It is what it is. And then be proud of A.J. McCarron for being the first quarterback in ages to get a win for an Alabama quarterback in the NFL, and he looks to be playing pretty doggone good. So, I
totally agree.
It is what it is. So we'll take another break. We come back, we'll take your calls. Stay tuned. More Sportz Blitz Live presented by JR's and S&S Tire right after this.
What value would you gain working with Lee Marketing Group? With 4 divisions under one umbrella, Sign Source, Lee Apparel, R&B Media, and LMG Baker Advertising Agency, Lee Marketing Group offers a comprehensive approach. From logo design and branding to ad placement and everything in between, LMG can handle it all. For ease of time, cutting edge, results-driven marketing campaigns, think LMG. Lee Marketing Group, your comprehensive marketing solution.
If you've been seriously injured in a car wreck or truck wreck, don't let the insurance company knock you out without taking responsibility for your medical expenses, pain and suffering, and car repair. You need a fighter. I'm a former Golden Glove champion, and I will fight for you to get the money you deserve. Call Tripp and put a fighter in your corner.
Call the Walton Law Firm at 334-321-3000 or toll free at 866-321-3330. Put a fighter in your corner.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be provided is greater than that of other attorneys.
So, you may not know it, but you've seen our work everywhere. For a combined 50 years, Sign Source has been Central Alabama's premier option for all your sign needs. Custom signs for your business, club, or organization. Wraps and decals for your vehicle or boat. Full-color banners for your big sale, or a photo collage on canvas for grandma. All with fast, friendly, prompt service. Check out our website at signsourcenow.com. 888-533-6758. Go straight to the source. Sign Source.
What are you waiting for? Call Kenneth Ingram Jr. now.
My name is Kenneth Ingram Jr., and I will work for you. I specialize in personal injury, wrongful death cases, and business disputes, just to name a few. What you need are results, and I've been getting those results for my clients for almost 30 years. Call me today at 256-212-9700 and let me help you get what you deserve.
Kenneth Ingram Jr., champion of the common man. No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Define the fabric of a team. It's not selfish. It's not boastful. It's about many. sewn together to reach one common goal. But in order to win, we must learn to work together.
This segment of Sportz Blitz is brought to you by Russell Do-It Center, offering a complete assortment of lumber, building materials, electrical, and plumbing supplies. Russell Do-It Center stores deliver first-class service, top-rate products, and competitive do-it-best pricing.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sportz Blitz Live, presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and S&S Discount Tire. Brett Pritchard and shorthand Luke Robinson over here on his text messages sound like he was in a courtroom, a court reporter.
Stenographer.
Exactly. A few minutes left in tonight's show. We'll have Brian Matthews on at the end, as always, with the Auburn Blitz segment. Catching up with Andy Graham today on Sports Call. He added a lot. He came straight from the Kevin Steele press conference to our to be on the show with us. So he'll have a lot of insight and into that hire for Gus Malzahn. I know James said that Lance Thompson went in there and probably had some words with Gus. I don't doubt that. I mean, I can easily see where Lance Thompson goes in there and says, you know, why didn't I get a shot at this? Why didn't I? But I think, you know, that hire was made before the Birmingham Bowl, obviously, because immediately it was announced. And LSU had that game the night before, so maybe that's why you find out now why there wasn't an announcement until after the game.
And I think you're right, but I think it hurts no less for Lance Thompson.
Oh, it
He probably
definitely
went into
hurts.
the game with the mindset that if I do well enough, I can get this gig. And I would be willing to bet that Malzahn didn't do anything to quash that notion, meaning Lance Thompson saying, man, I hope I do well. And Gus is like, well, I hope you do well too, but this is going to be the last time you're doing well over here.
Exactly.
So it feels like, again, it's not a dysfunctional thing, but because everything else has been going so off the rails, it feels like part of a dysfunctional
I
thing.
want to ask you a question about Georgia and South Carolina staffs that Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp, what they're putting together over there. So far, do you feel like they've done a decent job of putting a staff together? Kirby Smart's, what do you think? He hired Dale McGee, from Georgia Southern, who is going to be a running backs coach. Played at Auburn. Is Tracy Rocker going to stay on the staff at Georgia?
It sounds like it, and I think that would probably be a
great
good thing.
deal for Kirby Smart to keep Tracy Rocker.
Also, it sounds like Mel Tucker may be leaving Alabama as defensive backs coach and going to Georgia as defensive coordinator, which I think is a bit of a gamble. And I say only a small gamble, but I think it's a fantastic hire from a fundamentals and technique standpoint. But as Jimmy and I talked about in the earlier segment, Mel Tucker's not much of a recruiter. And right now, to me, college football is all about recruiting.
Mel Tucker's from the NFL, so
right.
So again, you see that a lot with NFL guys.
But the thing is, Kirby Smart is a good recruiter, and Tracy Rocker is a good recruiter. So I feel like you've got recruiters on the staff, and then you add a Mel Tucker.
Does Alabama go after? Does Kirby Smart get anybody else off this Alabama staff to go with him?
He's tried to poach. And
Will Muschamp's poached to death.
I know it.
I mean, he is poached.
That's what's interesting about this. You just left a situation that seems rather unstable, and then you want to go get a bunch of guys from that situation.
4 guys from this Auburn staff, either front office guys or guys on the field.
And then he also got Ellis Johnson, which I thought was
that is
questionable at best.
Do you see anything happening other than a train wreck in South Carolina?
Well, recruiting-wise, things have gone okay. They did get Calvin Ridley to commit for about 38 seconds.
38 seconds, exactly.
And they've got Marlon Character, who's committed to Auburn, looking at them again. And he could flip eventually. I heard Jason Caldwell talking about it on, I think, Rachel Barbeau's show the other day, that he could potentially flip. But they're not going to lure any super 5-stars unless they're from South Carolina, a la Marcus Lattimore or Jadeveon Clowney. I think that South Carolina just doesn't have that national reach.
Clemson's getting it done. I mean, that's the thing. We're quick to say, and South Carolina hangs no banners over there at Bryce Williams Stadium because they've never won anything. They won an Eastern Crown back in 2010, but got blown out in the SEC championship game. But here's the deal. Clemson's getting it done. They're winning ACC championships.
Clemson's a bigger brand, I think.
Clemson's a bigger brand than the University of South Carolina.
I don't think there's any doubt about it in football.
It's amazing.
Again,
I know they've won a national title, and I mean I know they've done some things. But
it's really not even all that close. I mean, I think that South Carolina, outside of their 3-year window with Spurrier, where they won 11 games 3 straight years, they just hadn't really been a drop in the bucket.
They don't have anything hanging from Williams-Brice Stadium. They don't have any championships. They don't have any kind of accolades, and they are. I mean, it is what it is. I don't see. I mean, you can sit here and talk about the national reach and all this kind of stuff, but look, Will Muschamp was at a breeding ground for recruits in Florida and couldn't get it done. And you and I called that. I mean, I'll continue to toot mine and your horn the night of the Heisman Trophy ceremony when Will Muschamp was hired at Florida, and everybody was like, "Ooh, that's a great hire." And me and you were like, "Hold on just a minute." And in the first year, he made me and you kind of look dumb. He won 11 games. And because we just kept saying, well, everybody just wait. And it did. It happened. He went downhill every year ever since. So he comes to Auburn, really doesn't make that big of an impact on the defensive side of the ball. Now he's going to go to South Carolina and try it again. I don't see, he's going to play Clemson on a regular basis. He's got to play Georgia. He's going to have to play Tennessee now. He'll bring in 2 teams from the West. I don't see Will Muschamp ever winning anything
and
in South Carolina. I'm serious.
We were talking about the brand thing too. I've always kind of felt like Clemson's more of an SEC team than South Carolina is.
I do too.
They feel that way. And they're going to, ironically, they're going to finish the season with Alabama and start the season with Auburn.
That's it.
I mean, and they're going to have they're also going to play South Carolina in there. So, I mean, I wish Clemson were in the league. I know it's all about footprint and marketing and blah, blah, blah. I think Clemson is an SEC team. I wish they were in here. I think the SEC is built on a foundation of rivalries. And if you put Clemson in here and all of a sudden you get them in the East and their South Carolina thing, their dynamic changes. And then they also now have a rivalry with Florida, and their thing with Georgia is totally rekindled. And then maybe their permanent West opponent, or not permanent, but when they start playing Auburn more often, you two play each other more than they play the Iron Bowl. So
we play twice a year, I think, sometimes. Start and finish the season. But we'll go to our Players of the Week here. Again, one of our favorite segments of our show, able to highlight a lot of the talent in the state of Alabama. We'll start over in Lee County tonight with the Alabama National Guard Lee County Player of the Week. Claudia Tucker from Lee Scott Academy led scoring with 25 points. Also had 6 rebounds, 6 steals, and 5 assists in a nail-biter 60-59 win over Deerfield, Windsor County, Georgia. There, Claudia Tucker with Lee Scott with the Lee County Player of the Week.
Okay, the Kenneth Ingram Jr. Personal Injury Attorney Montgomery Area Player of the Week is Marcus Tank Jenkins from Park Crossing High School. He was named to the Max Preps Sophomore All-American team. He's only 6'4", 330 pounds. Offensive tackle, already has offers from Alabama, the Crimson Tide, and UA.
There you go.
Auburn, Alabama, LSU, and others.
Thank you for throwing Auburn in there. You tried to give Alabama.
You talking about throwing a bone, Pat Dial style.
A double dose there. Lake Martin Area Player of the Week, also sponsored by the Alabama National Guard. Check them out, nationalguard.com/AL. Saxon Coker at Benjamin Russell High School finished 3-0 in the Huntsville Battlefield Duels with 2 pins in the 122-pound weight class. That Benjamin Russell wrestling team, look out for them as a team. Very good. Congratulations to Saxon Coker.
Lyman Ward Military Academy AISA Player of the Week is Taza Garrett Hammett. Springwood girls basketball. She leads the team with 15.7 points per game and 10.1 rebounds per game. A historic 17-0 start to the season for Lyman Ward.
You got to love the names of these meets for wrestlers. And we'll flash over to Russell County. The Russell County Player of the Week, also sponsored by the Alabama National Guard. The entire Phoenix City wrestling team won the Rumble in the Jungle tournament at Cleburne County on Saturday. That's Central's 5th tournament victory this season. They beat Bob Jones 198 to 187 in the final and had 5 individuals win their weight class at the Rumble in the Jungle. So Central Phoenix City in the 7A classification getting it done right now on the wrestling mat. So congratulations there to the entire Phoenix City wrestling team.
And the Russell Building Supply, Russell Do-It Center AHSA Radio Network Player of the Week, that's Mr. John Petty. This is a guy we've talked about for quite some time. J.O. Johnson hit a three-pointer with 5 seconds remaining to lift the Jaguars to a 59-58 victory over Gaston City in the Comfort Suites Holiday Inn Express New Year's Classic in Hansville. Wow. I wish I'd known there wasn't a period in there. Petty finished with 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 block shots. And we've seen him. I called a couple of his games last year in the final 56,
800,
whatever it is. And, man, he's a talent. He's really special. He's a long, everyday McDonald's All-American kind of kid. And I don't know where he's going to end up. Alabama and Auburn will be right in the mix, I know. But he's the kind of kid that can go to Kentucky. And whenever that happens, uh-oh.
Do you know what happens February 29th through March 5th?
That's going to be the final 56,000.
1,000.
Yeah, final 56,000.
That's when our basketball tournament will be, and it'll be here before we know it. So already inching that way as we are into January, and we'll blink, and our basketball season will be done. We'll be culminating up there at the BJCC. Going to take another break. When we come back, we'll continue this here at Sportz Blitz. Stay tuned. More Sportz Blitz Live coming your way right after this.
Bucks Island is one of the oldest boat dealers in Alabama, serving boaters since 1948 with the largest boat showroom in the state. Featuring Skeeter, cruisers and sport boats featuring Monterey, pontoons featuring Crest, G3 and Voyagers, powered by Mercury and Yamaha. Bucks Island has sold over 10,000 boats, and with a full service and parts and accessories department to keep your boat in top condition. Don't buy a boat till you get a Bucks quote. Visit Bucks Island on Highway 77 in Southside or online at bucksisland.com. Give them a call at 1-800-I'm-READY. Bucks Island, where our #1 product is customer satisfaction.
Hello, I'm Russell Building Supply.
And I'm the big box store.
Box, I don't mean to cut you short, but I've got a delivery to make.
A delivery?
Yeah, Russell delivers anywhere in the local area for free, usually on the same day, and that's on top of our low price guarantee.
Really? Free? Are you kidding me?
No, and if you prefer to pick the order up yourself, we'll load it for free.
And on the same day?
Yeah, we're really good at working on short lead times. How about you?
Yeah, I'm short.
Serving Lake Martin and Central Alabama.
Excitement awaits you on beautiful Lake Martin. Alex City Guide Service can provide you with a charter trip of a lifetime. Licensed charter guide David Hare has over 20 years of experience on Lake Martin, specializing in live bait fishing for trophy-sized saltwater striped bass, largemouth bass, and spotted bass. Call Alex City Guide Service today at 256-401-3089 or visit them online at www.alexcityguideservice.com.
At the Medicine Shop, we're dedicated to the idea that quality pharmacy care means more than just prompt prescriptions. When you come to the Medicine Shop Pharmacy, you'll be able to count on dependable care from a knowledgeable pharmacist. The Medicine Shop is the only compounding pharmacy in the area, and we offer the shingles vaccine year-round. Bring your prescriptions by the drive-thru on Airport Drive in Alex City, or input them online at www.medicineshop.com, or call them at 256-215-8014. The Medicine Shop, caring beyond prescriptions.
We are Steel, German-engineered chainsaws and landscape products.
The majority of which are made here in America by Americans.
And exported to over 90 countries around the world.
Find out why Steel is #1 in America at steelusa.com.
Find your Steel outdoor products and more at the new Satterfield Outdoor Living on Highway 280 in Alex City.
Welcome back, everyone. Quick segment here, Luke, before we go to Brian Matthews here at the end of the show. Auburn falls to South Carolina. South Carolina stays undefeated, 81-69. Here's the stats. I want to read this out to you. South Carolina was 25 of 50 from the field. Auburn 24 of 54. They were only 9 of 23 from behind the arc. Auburn was 12 of 30. 22 of 28 free throw shooting, though, South Carolina. Only 9 of 13 for Auburn. Not bad, 9 of 13, but only went to the line 13 times. South Carolina goes 28 times and makes 22 of them. That's the difference in the game. The difference in the whole game was right there at the stripe. I mean, Auburn will have to do a better job of not fouling so daggum much.
Well, I talked to you about it off air. I think it sure looked like to me, Bruce Pearl has the Rick Pitino mantra of just go out there and play as hard and aggressive as you can. They're not going to call every foul.
Well,
and tonight, apparently, they called them all.
It didn't work. I mean, that's the thing. So Auburn loses this game at home via the foul strike. Let's go over to the NFL and talk about these playoff matchups starting Saturday. You got the Division II National, the FCS National Championship game with Jacksonville State and North Dakota State, and be interesting to see if Jacksonville State can get over that hump and win that national championship game. You also have your NFL playoffs beginning, the Chiefs and the Texans. Texans end up with 9 wins, the Chiefs 11-5. They lost Jamal Charles, and then it seems like they ran off a string of wins after losing maybe one of the best running backs in the whole NFL. What are your thoughts on that game?
I still like the Chiefs. The Chiefs are just so hot right now.
They are.
And Houston, I don't even know who their quarterback is. I mean, I'm not sure Houston knows who their quarterback is. I mean, they've just had a lot of questions back there. J.J. Watt is one of the funnest watches in the NFL to me, and I think he's fabulous. But in the end, I think it's going to be the Chiefs. And you want to talk about – everybody talked about the bowl games and their matchups. I really don't like these NFL games and these matchups. I mean, they just don't – they're bringing me in. This Houston team doesn't feel super – this goes back to what I'm saying, that not all the time should a division winner, a conference winner, be in the playoffs because Houston's just not that good.
Steelers and Bengals got to go to Cincinnati will host that game, but they're a 2.5 point underdog to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And
that's odd.
Well, the big question is Andy Dalton's thumb going to be healed, or are they going to play A.J. McCarron?
Well, A.J. McCarron's not playing bad.
Well, that's what I thought. But now, when he played against the Steelers earlier, they did lose. He did have 2 interceptions, but he came in because that's the game he got hurt.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you can't put that on him.
I think if I were the Bengals, what I would do is say, we're playing A.J. McCarron here. And if Andy Dalton, if McCarron stinks it up, bring Dalton in off the bench if he's healthy enough. But that would be my plan going in.
Those are both Saturday. The Sunday game, Seahawks at the Vikings. Seahawks got to go to the Vikings. Now, the Seahawks don't do well away from home. Now, I know they blew out Arizona in Arizona, but they've made a trip to St. Louis looked horrible. They've lost 5 games this year. Actually lost 6. Most of them been on the road. It's going to be cold in Minnesota. They got to go to Minnesota. Minnesota plays well at home. Look, I know Seattle's hot. They're the highest power-ranked team in the NFL right now, but I wouldn't be shocked if Minnesota were able to pull out an upset. I'm serious.
I feel like Seattle may end up being the favorite in the NFC the way they played against Arizona.
They got to get through Minnesota, and I'm telling you, I think that's a little bit more of a sketchy game for them than people think, especially with the way Minnesota plays at home. The Packers, man, they look bad. They're coming down the stretch. They're against the Redskins. That is a bad playoff game there Sunday afternoon. But, man, what about the New England Patriots closing out with 3 losses here at the end of the season?
Well, and they still get the 2 seed.
They do, and then Denver ends up – Peyton Manning comes off the bench, gets the win, and just kind of bizarre, man. A lot of things going on. And if it's going to be a fun playoffs, I think, eventually, to see how everything shakes out.
And see, I'm the other way. I wish there were 2 prohibitive favorites that we were waiting to meet. Because right now, if you told me...
Well, I'd still rather see Carolina and New England.
But if you told... I would rather see it, but it's still not the... I mean, Carolina, we all agree, seems to be like a really strong defense, a fantastic quarterback, and then a bunch of sort of just hodgepodge of people.
Yeah.
And New England is kind of pieced together with Band-Aids right now outside of Tom Brady. And so that doesn't feel like 2 really healthy, strong teams. If you told me Kansas City meets the Redskins for the Super Bowl, I'd be like, it could happen.
But that would be
It'd be awful, but it could happen.
Yeah. Well, we're going to end it here for us right now, Luke, and we'll take our last break. When we come back, Brian Matthews will join Andy Graham for the Auburn Blitz segment of the show. Stay tuned. More Sports Blitz Live coming your way right after this.
2015 is a new year, and the rules for FHA loans have changed.
If you currently have an FHA loan, call Home Place Mortgage today.
Right now, we can refinance your current FHA mortgage without an appraisal.
Your interest rate will reduce, and so will your monthly mortgage insurance.
Call us today to start saving in 2015.
Show Enough Barbecue. Since 1990, we've been serving you the finest barbecue in Alexander City. Gerald believes in cooking fresh meat daily, and the secret to that is, I'm not going to tell you. Show Enough is just not about barbecue, but also known for fresh vegetables and homemade pies. That's where I come in. I'm Linda Sanford, better known as the Pie Lady. We also do catering. For more information, give us a call at 234-7675.
Walls Tire, just a mile past the bridge on Highway 280, is the Lake Martin area's complete automotive solution. At Walls, you'll find a dedicated staff offering top quality service from routine maintenance to a full engine overhaul and everything in between. Brian Walls and the folks at Walls Tire are local folks that you know, and they provide the best service, always at a fair price. Find out what the rest of the Lake Martin area already knows. Walls Tire is the Lake Martin area's complete automotive solution. Just a mile past the bridge on Highway 280.
Right now, Jacob is only thinking about this game. He's not thinking about the clavicle injury he sustained last football season, or the subsequent surgery and weeks of physical therapy. He's back in the game. With 3 orthopedic surgeons and a department dedicated to physical therapy, rehabilitation, and sports medicine, Russell Medical Center gets you back in the game for another winning Wildcat season. Orthopedic medicine at Russell Medical Center.
Let me tell you about Satterfield. Check out the beautiful showroom at Satterfield on Highway 280 in Alexander City. They have a great selection of outdoor grilling lines for your entertainment needs. Name brands like Big Green Egg, Lynx, Blaze, and Sabre are just a few. How about those grill basins? Also, lawn equipment by Shindawa, Echo, and Husqvarna. Power tools by Makita, and a great line of Carhartt clothing. All of this in one location, Satterfield on Highway 280 in Alexander City. Stop by and visit today. Satterfield.
When you need plumbing service, call on the professionals at A&M Plumbing LLC. For over 20 years, our mission has been to provide the best possible service available in the industry, and we specialize in solving difficult problems. We offer a wide range of services, such as installation, service, repair, and replacement of common fixtures, water heaters, toilets, faucets, drains, sewer lines, and septic tank pumping and cleaning services. Unlike many companies, our septic tank services include field line testing. Our knowledgeable staff will be happy to answer any of your questions. So call A&M Plumbing LLC today.
We want to go to the AO Tourism Hotline, welcoming our good friend Brian Matthews from AuburnSports.com. Brian, how is everything today?
Oh, everything's pretty good. We just finished up with Kevin Steele's press conference here at the Auburn Athletic Complex and about to head over to the basketball for a big game tonight.
Well, let's start right there, Brian. First impressions of Kevin Steele and what was said in the press conference.
I was really impressed. I thought he did a terrific job, and I had no idea he had so many ties to the state of Alabama and to Auburn in particular before we spoke to him. And, as far as, from a defensive coordinator standpoint, he talked about wanting to be multiple, didn't want to try to fit the players into a certain system, wanted to sort of fit his system around the talent that he has and what those guys do good and what they don't do so well. So I think all in all, it was a really good start for him.
What are some of the ties that he had?
Well, he grew up around Highway 82, Gordo, Prattville, Billingsley, Tuscaloosa, all that area. His father was a high school coach, before they moved to South Carolina, I think in the 8th grade year. His daughter is a graduate of Auburn. And he saw his first college football game here at Jordan-Hare Stadium back around 50 years ago. Larry Blakeney was a quarterback who had played for his father, and he just had a lot of memories of Auburn, and it seemed like he's really excited to return.
Did he give any indication of why make the move to Auburn from LSU after one season?
He talked to, that was a lot of the stuff was just having a chance to coach at Auburn. He said he wants to finish up his coaching career here at Auburn. He said he's never felt that way at any other stop. So I think that was really big for him. And he also talked about Gus Malzahn. He said he had a lot of respect for him and compared Coach Malzahn to Tom Osborne and Bobby Bowden, two coaches he has worked under or has known well.
Well, that's pretty high praise. Certainly, I can see the comparison there. He is known to be a very good recruiter. Is there any names that kind of jump off the page or maybe that are rise above the rest that maybe Auburn will be in on now that they weren't otherwise?
Nobody yet to me. I'm sure there will be some, but they were recruiting a lot of players Auburn is, so he's going to be very familiar with guys like Derek Brown and guys already has committed like Antoine Jackson and Marlon Davidson and those guys. So I think it's going to be a lot of the same faces or same names we've heard before, but I'm sure there'll be 2 or 3 new names that pop up, guys that he really likes and feels like fits the kind of things he likes to do.
Was there any mention about staff replacement possibilities?
He said they've been working on it, and he said, Gus is allowing him to have input on that. That's really what they've been doing over the last, 4 or 5 days since he was hired, and they hope to have that wrapped up here fairly soon.
Did he mention that if he would coach linebackers or not?
I asked him about that. He said he's comfortable coaching just about every position except for maybe nose guard. So I'm sure he will coach the linebackers or the secondary. Most likely linebackers. That's where he's coached the most, I think, in the past. So I think either or, but probably linebackers.
Well, let's change gears and move on to, as you mentioned, heading over to the Auburn Arena. Huge game tonight on campus. It was a big game Saturday as Auburn defeated Tennessee. Auburn just seems to have terrible luck on the injury front, but was able to overcome and a terrible shooting performance by Tennessee. Auburn able to win and really, just the whole lot, the atmosphere and everything. I told Randy, we were talking before, at the beginning of the show, I can't remember the last time I said, Auburn's playing on national TV on CBS on Saturday, and they look like they belong to be there.
Oh, I agree. I thought that was a really good atmosphere, and especially, the students were not, here in class and everything, and still a really good crowd and good atmosphere at the arena, and I expect it to be even better tonight. And that was a big win for Auburn. I mean, you get off to a good start. They had a up and down non-conference season. They've had a lot of injuries, and I think a win over Tennessee, a team that I think is pretty good, even though they're a little undersized. I think that's a big for Auburn's confidence.
Well, speaking on the injury front, has it been determined yet whether T.J. Lane will be able to play tonight?
It probably has, but I have not been over there. I'm on my way there, and I should have an answer to that here in the next 10 minutes or so. But Coach Pearl seemed pretty confident. We talked to him yesterday. T.J. was going to practice for the first time. He had passed all his concussion protocol, so it sounded pretty positive about his chance of playing tonight.
Well, I know New Williams is out tonight, and, with the knee not being quite ready or a little tricky, that's kind of a question mark moving forward. But one of the guy that, everybody we keep talking about, and it just keeps lingering and lingering, Daniel Purifoy. I think Coach Pearl said, I think 2 weeks ago, or maybe we feel like we're going to have a resolution on this pretty quickly, and yet here we are 2 weeks later, and I guess still no word, right?
No resolution whatsoever so far, and Coach Pearl, I don't think he was asked about it yesterday, but last time he was asked about it, he said now it's looking more like it'll be sometime in January. I don't have a really good feeling about Daniel's chances of being, ruled eligible for this season. So I think it's probably likely. I don't say it's a done deal because it's not. But it's probably likely that he'll have to sit out this season.
Well, can you shed any light on? I mean, is this we're not talking about like his file sitting on somebody's desk waiting to be looked at. I mean, what are they? This whole time, what is being talked about? Are they trying to decide whether his ACT score is legitimate? Are they trying to decide whether, how to determine?
Over the years, years, S&S Tire's grown into the Lake Martin area's largest volume tire dealer. S&S Tire offers the industry's best brand names: Michelin, Goodyear, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Firestone, and much, much more. The tire pros at S&S offer professional installation and the region's best price. In addition to your tire needs, S&S offers full automotive mechanical work for all your vehicle maintenance and repair needs with the area's most experienced staff. Visit either of our 2 locations on Cherokee Road in Ellick City or at South Street in Dadeville. At S&S Tire, we're installing peace of mind for every customer we serve. Every job, every day.
Welcome to Baumhauer's, food fans.
It's game on, starting with a cup of homemade gumbo and cold beer on tap from our lively bar, coupled with a mouth-watering top-choice steak.
Oh man, always fresh, always popular, hot Bama Brown and Alabama wild shrimp, hot off the grill. That'll be tough to beat.
If you haven't been to Baumhauer's lately, you're really missing out on all the action.
Baumhauer's, legendary food, legendary fun.
Big trucks control our highways with little to no regard for the rest of us. The U.S. Department of Transportation estimates that over 500,000 wrecks occur each year involving big trucks. If you or a loved one have been hit and injured by a big truck, then don't wait any longer. Call me today. I'll stand up to these big truck companies and I will fight for you.
What are you waiting for? Call Kenneth Ingram Jr. now.
What value would you gain working with Lee Marketing Group? With 4 divisions under one umbrella, Sign Source, Lee Apparel, R&B Media, and LMG Baker Advertising Agency, Lee Marketing Group offers a comprehensive approach. From logo design and branding to ad placement and everything in between, LMG can handle it all. For ease of time, cutting edge, results-driven marketing campaigns, think LMG. Lee Marketing Group, your comprehensive marketing solution.
Russell Do-It Center and Russell Building Supply is locally owned and operated with over 30 years experience providing a wide array of lumber, building materials, hardware, electrical and plumbing supplies, paint, tools, and garden products. Our employees' superior product knowledge and top-notch customer service allows us to help select the best products that will work for you. We provide free product estimates and takeoffs, free local delivery, and ask about our price match promise. Russell Do-It Center and Russell Building Supply. Experience and knowledge from the pros.